U.K. could soon see a revolution in how we charge electric vehicles on our streets, as the Transport Secretary announced today a £3.4 million investment in 6 months' worth of trials for the wireless charging of electric taxis in Nottingham. Wireless charging at taxi ranks means that multiple taxis could recharge at once, saving time and decreasing cable clutter on the streets, etc. Well, Chris Jones is the Chief Executive of Connected Curb, which is a company developing wireless charging technology. Chris, really good to talk to you. As I understand, you're not directly involved with this particular trial in Nottingham, but you've been involved in many like it. So do you welcome this 6-month trial, which is being supported by the government?
Well, we certainly do, yeah. I think it's an example of the momentum that's building in this market, and particularly the momentum around trying to have a diversified set of ways that you can actually charge cars. So we think this is really great in terms of actually being able to increase the accessibility of vehicles and the accessibility of charging solutions, so particularly for disabled people, but in this instance actually for taxi drivers who can maximise the time when they're in the vehicle and charge rather than having to go to dedicated charging zones. They can do this while they're actually waiting for fares. So yes, we think it's a great idea.
Because what would you say are still the biggest challenges when it comes to getting drivers in the UK to switch to electric?
That's an interesting question. So, I mean, we think the vehicles are pretty much nearly there. The range of vehicles is great now in terms of the actual mileage they can do, and the cost of vehicles is coming down all the time. The challenge is really the infrastructure, so actually being able to get people the opportunity to charge their car as conveniently and as accessibly as possible. So that means having far, far greater numbers of chargers out on the street, and I think induction is possibly one of the solutions, particularly where you have extremely crowded streets already. So where you have a sort of Coronation Street style high density population, there simply isn't the room to put chargers on the street in the way that we would like. So induction is possibly a solution for that. Equally here in the taxi rank solution, there's an opportunity to maximise, as I say, the time that taxi drivers spend in their vehicles.
You mentioned problems with infrastructure and also the cost of these cars. Is this something that you would like to see government becoming more involved in?
Well, I mean, I think you've seen from today the government is actually quite actively involved. I think there's a role that the automotive manufacturers have to play as well, and then there's a role that organisations like myself, or ours rather, have to play in deploying the actual charging technology. I think the role that the government has to play is possibly through incentives, and I think some of the regional mayors are actually doing a great job with the ultra-low emission zones that they're imposing. But I think the role that government could possibly play is in setting standards both for the charging technology and then also bringing the different organisations together. So, for example, taking the induction play specifically, the actual technology is pretty easy to do. The challenge is getting the car to speak to the induction charging point. So that's quite a complex debate, because you have to bring the automotive manufacturers together with the charging technology developers, together with the landowner or the council.
OK, Chris, really good to talk to you there. Chris Jones of Connected Curb. Many thanks. OK, another couple of